Right now, as I'm talking to you, my heart is beating in a pattern that isn't mine. Thump thump. Thump thump. Same rhythm as that thing beneath the Antarctic ice. The doctors can't explain it. Their machines show it clearly. This perfect alien cadence in my pulse. You're probably wondering how a man halfway across the world can be connected to something buried under 2 miles of ice. Well, it started with a drill. Our drill. And what we found down there, it remembered my name. My name's Elias. Lieutenant Elias. Though I haven't worn that uniform in 40 years. I keep my house hot. 80 degrees day and night. The neighbors think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But cold. Cold isn't just uncomfortable for me anymore. It's a warning sign. See? I know what's coming. Not because I'm psychic or anything like that. No. I was there when we cracked open the world's worst secret. There's a recording that exists, buried deep in Naval Intelligence archives. They call it Item 9 Zulu. Just an old reel-to-reel tape, brittle with age, locked in some vault most people don't even know exists. If you played it, you wouldn't hear combat sounds or ships sinking. Just this deep thrumming, like a massive engine underwater. But if you really listen past the static, it's too irregular for machinery. It pauses, skips, speeds up and slows down with this organic rhythm. You'd swear it was a heartbeat. And for something to make a heartbeat that powerful from 2 miles under ice, that thing would have to be the size of an aircraft carrier. Everyone's taught that the Antarctic Treaty of 1959 was this beautiful moment of peace. Countries setting aside differences during the Cold War to protect a continent. What a lovely story. What a complete lie. We didn't stop exploring Antarctica because we wanted peace. We stopped because of what happened at Outpost Sierra in 1958. That treaty wasn't diplomacy. It was a quarantine order. Let me explain. Back then, 1958, the world was terrified. Sputnik had just launched. Everyone was racing to build missiles that could fly across oceans in minutes. But those early guidance systems, they needed precise maps of Earth's magnetic fields. And Antarctica? It was a blind spot. Those magnetic field lines down there were chaotic, shifting. If you wanted to fire missiles over the South Pole, or hide submarines under the ice to launch a counterstrike, you needed to know exactly what was happening at the bottom of the world. That was Outpost Sierra's real mission. Oh sure, officially it was part of this International Geophysical Year. Supposedly just science and mapping. But practically, we were looking for places to build missile silos deep inland, where the ice was thickest. We weren't there for penguins or ice samples. We were there for strategic dominance. I was the logistics officer, the guy who kept the heat on. In Antarctica, your enemy isn't other men with guns. It's the environment itself. If a generator fails for an hour out there, everyone dies. My journals from back then aren't filled with poetic observations about icebergs. They're full of numbers, burn rates, calorie counts, desperate calculations of survival. We arrived just as the polar winter was setting in. April 1958. The sun had just set for the last time that year. It wouldn't rise again until September. 6 months of darkness. Total, suffocating darkness. I wrote in my journal on April 12th, "The silence here is heavy. It has weight. You can feel it pressing against your eardrums when the wind dies down. It's not just the absence of noise, it's the absence of life. Back home, even in a quiet room, there's the hum of a refrigerator, the sound of a car miles away. Here, nothing, just wind and ice. When the generator cycles down for maintenance, the silence rushes in like water filling a sinking ship. The men are already getting twitchy. I caught Corporal Miller staring at a wall for 20 minutes today, just watching condensation freeze on a bolt head. We've barely started, and I can already feel the clock ticking. Our camp was 4 connected structures: command hut, barracks, mess hall, and generator shed, all linked by guide ropes you had to hold onto during blizzards. If you let go and lost your bearings in a whiteout, you could walk 10 feet the wrong way and vanish forever. But the real heart of our operation wasn't the camp. It was the rig. About 200 yards out stood this heavy-duty drilling platform, run by Sergeant Hayes. Hayes was different from me, a grease under the fingernails kind of guy. He'd drilled for oil in Texas, water in the Mojave. He didn't care about magnetic data or strategic implications. He had one job: punch through the ice shelf until he hit bedrock, drop the sensors, and get out. That drill was the only thing that broke the silence. 12 hours a day, the whole camp vibrated with its roar. And honestly, it was comforting. It meant we were doing something. It meant the machines were still working. The trouble started with the readings. We had this civilian scientist with us, Dr. Aris, a geophysicist who specialized in magnetic anomalies. Aris was why we were at those specific coordinates. The map said the ice there was 2 miles thick, sitting on continental bedrock. But Aris's sensors were going wild. I wrote in my log on May 3rd. Aris is keeping me up. He's pacing the command hut, muttering about the data. He says the magnetic field isn't just fluctuating, it's cycling. He showed me the graph paper. It looks like a heartbeat, or a code. Sharp spikes followed by rhythmic lulls. He says geology doesn't do that. Rocks don't have rhythm. He thought it might be radioactive or ionizing the atmosphere from below. I told him I didn't care if it was a gold mine, as long as it didn't mess with our radio. But the radio was acting up too. Heavy static, but not the white noise of a storm. It sounded like voices in a crowded room, just below hearing. You'd strain to listen, and it would vanish. The drilling kept going, deeper and deeper. 1 mile down, then 1.5 miles. The ice cores we pulled up were pristine, ancient ice compressed by eons of weight. We were drilling back through time, pulling up atmosphere samples from before the pyramids, before the first humans walked upright. But the deeper we went, the weirder things got. Batteries that should have lasted a week drained in hours. The lights in the drilling shack would flicker in time with Aris's magnetic pulses. Hayes started complaining that the rig felt warm to the touch, which was impossible in that cold. He said the drill string's vibration felt wrong, like it wasn't grinding against ice anymore but humming against something that vibrated back. Then came June 14th. The depth of winter. Total darkness outside. I was counting kerosene cans in the supply hut when the drill sound changed. For weeks, it had been this steady grinding roar. Suddenly, the pitch spiked. The engine screamed as resistance vanished. Then, this massive thud shook the ground, felt even through the insulated hut walls. I thought the rig exploded. I clipped onto the guide rope and ran toward the floodlights. The wind cut through my layers, but even over that, I could hear men shouting. When I reached the platform, the rig was silent. Engine stalled. Hayes stood at the controls, pale-faced, grease and frost smeared on his cheeks. He was staring at the cable drum. The cable wasn't tight with the weight of 2 miles of pipe. It was hanging loose. "We punched through," Hayes said. "We didn't hit bedrock. We hit nothing." "What do you mean, nothing?" The bit dropped, he shouted over the wind. It was grinding hard at 9,000 feet, then just fell. Free fall. Dropped 40 feet before the brake caught it. "There's no rock down there, Lieutenant. There's a hole. A cavern." A void under the ice shelf wasn't impossible. Glaciers move over uneven terrain. But a void at that depth? Under that much pressure, the ice should have crushed any open space flat in days. Dr. Eris arrived, breathless, clutching his instruments. He didn't look scared. He looked ecstatic. "The readings," he yelled. "The magnetic spike just went off the charts. We're right on top of it." Hayes ignored him and pointed to the borehole casing, a steel pipe sticking from the ice floor. "Listen." We went quiet, over the wind battering the canvas walls. From the dark mouth of that pipe came a sound, a low, hollow rushing noise. "It's air," Hayes said. "Air coming up from the hole." Eris moved forward, pulling off a glove to feel the draft. Before he could touch the pipe, he froze. He stared at the air above the hole. In the harsh work lights, the air was shimmering, a thick haze, turbulent and strange. As we watched, it rose higher, hit the freezing air, and instantly turned to thick, swirling fog. Ice crystals formed on the rigging above us, growing inches in seconds, feathering out like white fungus. "It's warm," Eris whispered. "The air coming up. It's hot." I stepped closer. I could feel it now, a draft of humid, heavy air pumping from the earth. It didn't smell like rock or sulfur. "It smells like ozone," I wrote later. "Ozone and wet earth, like a greenhouse after a thunderstorm. It smells like dirt. It smells like something alive." We were in the center of the Antarctic plateau, standing on 2 miles of solid ice, and we'd just opened a vent to a tropical environment. "Cap it," I ordered. "Sergeant Hayes, seal the breach. We don't know what kind of gas is coming up." "We can't cap it," Hayes said, looking at the pressure gauge. "The pressure is negative. It's not just venting out, it's breathing. Look." The needle was oscillating, pushing into positive, venting warm air, then slowly dropping into vacuum, sucking the freezing air down into the dark. Push, pull, push, pull. Slow, deliberate. "It's tidal," Eris suggested, though he didn't sound convinced. "Air pressure differentials. That's not water," Hayes said quietly. He leaned over the hole, looking down. "I've drilled a lot of holes, Doc. I've hit natural gas, aquifers, salt domes. They hiss. They roar. They don't do this." I moved to pull him back. "Get away from the hole, Sergeant." But Hayes didn't move. He was transfixed. "Can you hear that?" I listened. At first, just wind and creaking metal. But then, in the lull when the hole was inhaling, I heard it. A thrumming vibration. Deep. Resonant. Felt in your teeth more than heard. Thump thump. Thump thump. The same rhythm Eris had seen on his magnetic charts. "It's machinery," I said, trying to rationalize the fear crawling up my spine. "Maybe the drill bit swinging against the cavern wall." "No," Hayes said. He turned to me, and for the first time I saw real terror in his eyes. "That's not metal on rock, Lieutenant. I know what metal sounds like. That sound, it's soft." Eris was already setting up a microphone. He lowered a sensor into the casing, fed the cable down 20 feet, plugged it into the reel-to-reel recorder, put on his headphones. He listened a long moment, face going slack, then unplugged the headphones and flipped the switch to the external speaker. The sound filled the shack, louder now, clearer, undeniably rhythmic, but underneath it, a wet, slick sound, massive movement in thick fluid, and something else, radio static. The sound wasn't just audio, it was carrying an electromagnetic signal. The speaker crackled and popped. "It's interference," Eris said, voice trembling. "The magnetic field is modulating the audio pickup, Turn it off, I said. The sound made me nauseous, triggered something primal in my brain. We need to report this to command. I turned toward the door, but as I reached for the handle, the speaker crackled again. This time, the static cleared for a split second. Not a pulse, not a thrum, a voice, garbled, high-pitched, distorted like a record at wrong speed, but with human cadence, a string of syllables, repeated. Sierra, Sierra, Sierra. I froze, looked at Eris. Is that us? Our radio bouncing back? Eris shook his head, staring at the recorder. The radio is off, Lieutenant. The transmitter is cold. That signal isn't coming from the antenna. He pointed a shaking finger at the borehole. It's coming from down there. The wind battered the shack. The fog from the hole thickened, filling the room with warm, humid haze that smelled of wet earth and ancient water. I walked back to the hole, looked down into that perfect circle of darkness. The heat coming off it felt inviting in the freezing cold, and that was the most terrifying part. It felt like a trap. Seal it, I said again, hard. I don't care about the pressure. Weld a plate over the casing. Pile sandbags on it. I want this hole closed. But the data, Eris started. Damn the data. I snapped. That is a direct order. Sergeant Hayes, get the welding gear. Hayes didn't move right away. He kept staring into the dark. It knows we're here, he whispered. Sergeant. Hayes blinked, like waking from a dream. Yes, sir. Welding gear. On it. We spent an hour welding a heavy steel cap over the casing. As the last bead of molten metal cooled, sealing the void back under the ice, the sound from the speaker cut off. The thrumming stopped. The static vanished. The silence returned to Outpost Sierra. But it wasn't the same silence as before. Before, the silence was empty. Now, it felt like the silence of someone holding their breath, waiting for you to turn your back. I went back to my hut, but couldn't sleep. Sat by my kerosene stove, listening to the wind, trying to convince myself it was just geology, just wind and echoes. But I couldn't get that smell out of my nose. Wet, warm earth. And I couldn't forget how the static had formed that one word. Sierra. It wasn't a bounce, not an echo. Outpost Sierra was a classified designation, not on any map. No civilian broadcast knew that name. The only people who knew we were Sierra were the 12 men on the ice, and whatever was waiting 2 miles beneath it. I opened my journal, wrote the last entry for that day. We have capped the breach. The men are shaken. Hayes looks like he's seen a ghost. I've ordered double watches on the perimeter, though I can't say what we're watching for. It's just ice out there. But I have this feeling, this knot in my stomach. We poked the bear. We knocked on the door, and something answered. I just hope the steel plate holds. Because whatever is down there, it sounded hungry. I closed the book, blew out the lamp, plunged the room into darkness. But as I lay in my bunk, staring up at the ceiling I couldn't see, I heard it, faintly, vibrating through the legs of my cot, through the floor, through the ice, through the very crust of the earth. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. The cap hadn't stopped it. It was just muffled. And then, from the corner of the room, where my ruggedized field radio sat powered down and disconnected from its battery, the speaker gave a single, wet click, and a voice, clear as a bell, whispered my name. Elias. That single word marked the end of our expedition as science, and the beginning of it as a siege. I didn't sleep that night. Spent 6 hours sitting in the dark, pistol on my lap staring at that radio speaker. Waited for it to speak again. But it stayed stubbornly silent. Just a box of cold circuits and vacuum tubes. Logically, it couldn't speak. Physically, it couldn't produce sound. But I was a man who lived by numbers and logistics, and the variable we'd introduced beneath the ice didn't follow surface rules. When morning rotation began, or what passed for morning in that perpetual twilight, the atmosphere at Outpost Sierra had shifted. You could feel it in the mess tent. Breakfast was usually griping time. Men complaining about powdered eggs, bitter coffee, the cold seeping through floorboards, healthy noise, soldiers bonding over shared misery. But that morning, the mess tent was quiet, library quiet, funeral home quiet. Men ate with heads down, eyes darting to corners. Not looking at each other, listening. The heartbeat was still there, not loud enough to hear over conversation, but in the silences, you could feel it. A subsonic thrum vibrating through boots, up shins, settling in the base of your skull. Thump thump. Thump thump. The rhythm of a massive idling engine, or a sleeping god. And with the silence came the failures. It started with batteries. My first task that day was checking the vehicle pool. 3 snowcats, our tracked lifelines to the extraction point. When I tried starting Cat 1, the starter motor clicked once and died. Battery dead. Not just drained, chemically inert. Cat 2, dead. Cat 3 managed one sluggish turnover before failing. These were heavy-duty lead-acid batteries, insulated, on trickle chargers from the main generator. Should have been fully charged. I checked the maintenance log, green-lit 6 hours ago, tested voltage with a multimeter. 0. Like the energy had been siphoned out, pulled into the earth like water down a drain. It's the anomaly, Dr. Aris said when I confronted him in the command hut. He looked haggard, red-rimmed eyes, hands with a constant tremor, surrounded by charts spilling off his desk. The field strength down there isn't constant, Lieutenant. It pulses, and when it pulses, it draws power. It's an induction field in reverse. It's feeding. Feeding on what? I asked, trying to keep panic out of my voice. We have 3 dead snowcats. If the generator goes, we freeze in 4 hours. It feeds on potential energy, Aris said, tapping a jagged spike on his graph. Electrical, thermal, magnetic. We are a heat source sitting on an ice cube. We are a battery sitting on a conductor. It knows we're here because we are bleeding energy into its environment. The implication hung cold in the air. We weren't just observers. We were fuel. By the 3rd day after the breach, the echo began in earnest. It wasn't just my radio anymore. It was everywhere. The comms array picked up constant static washing that rose and fell with the heartbeat rhythm. But inside the static, patterns. Sergeant Hayes was the one who identified it first. He'd practically moved into the rig shack. Refused to sleep in barracks, claiming the air was too thin there. Sat by the welded cap, listening to vibrations in the steel. When I went to check on him, I found him on a crate, head cocked, eyes unfocused. "You hear them?" Hayes whispered. "Hear who, Sergeant?" "The boys," Hayes said. "Listen." I listened. Wind howled outside, battering canvas walls, but underneath it, from the capped pipe, came a faint metallic vibration, like voices, distorted, tinny, like a radio left on in the next room. "I don't hear anything distinct," I said. "Wait," Hayes said. "Say something." "Sergeant, you need to come back to the barracks. That's an order." Hayes held up a hand. "Wait." 5 seconds passed. Then from the pipe, a sound emerged. Not an acoustic echo. A reproduction. A flat, synthesized voice, stripped of inflection, whispered up through 2 miles of steel. "Sergeant, you need to come back to the barracks." The hair on my arms stood up. It wasn't my voice. Sounded like a recording played backward then forward again, stitched together by something that understood phonetics but not meaning. "It's learning," Hayes said, with this terrifying wonder on his face. "It listens to us. It waits. Then it tries it out. It's getting better, Lieutenant. Yesterday it was just noise. Today it's words. It likes the vowels. It likes the way we breathe." I grabbed Hayes by the shoulder. "Get out of here. Now. We are locking this shack down." But locking the door didn't stop the sound. By that evening, the mimicry had spread to walkie-talkies. Men on perimeter watch would report in, only to hear their own check-in repeated back seconds later, slightly wrong. Pitch too high, cadence too slow. Psychological warfare, intentional or not. The crew stopped talking. Used hand signals. Wrote notes. Because every time they spoke, the ice spoke back. Desperate for answers, and realizing ignorance was more dangerous than truth, I authorized Dr. Eris to deploy the eye. It was a specialized camera probe, brass cylinder in pressure-proof glass, designed for deep ocean trenches. We couldn't remove the cap. I refused to open that door again, but the cap had a small high-pressure valve for gas sampling, just wide enough for the camera cable. The operation happened in what passed for midnight, camp running on emergency red lights, casting everything in bloody submarine hues. We gathered in the command hut, huddled around a small flickering black and white monitor. Dropping the package, Eris whispered, like afraid the microphone would pick it up and feed it to the thing below. The winch whined, paying out armored coaxial cable. Depth counter clicked upward. 100 feet. 500. 1,000. On screen, nothing but jagged translucent borehole walls. Ancient ice layered with volcanic dust from eruptions 10,000 years ago. A vertical tunnel through time. Depth, 1 mile, Eris reported. Temperature is rising. We're at 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It was -60 at the surface. "Keep going," I said. At 9,000 feet, the image changed. Borehole walls smoothed out. Ice became clear, almost black like obsidian. "We're hitting the melt layer," Eris said. The heat from the void melts the ceiling, and it refreezes smooth. We're close. Suddenly, the image flared white. The camera passed through the ceiling of the void. The probe's floodlight, reflecting off tight walls, now beamed into empty space. "Kill the light," I ordered. "Switch to thermal." Eris flipped a toggle. Screen shifted to grainy, high-contrast grayscale of infrared. The room went silent. We weren't looking at a cave. We were looking at a cathedral. The void was massive, stretching beyond sensor range. But it wasn't empty. The cavern floor, 2 miles beneath the ice, was moving. Looked like a carpet of writhing vines. A massive root system pulsing with heat. Thermal image showed veins of white-hot energy flowing through the mass, pumping rhythmically. Exactly like the interior of a lung. Or a stomach. "It's biological," Eris whispered, his theory confirmed in the most horrific way. "The entire cavern floor. It's a single organism, a fungal mat, or a colony." "Pan left," I said. "What is that?" On the edge of the screen, rising from the writhing floor, were structures. Pillars, stalagmites, but too regular. They spiraled upward, twisted and organic, pulsing with the same heat as the floor. and moving among them were shapes. Small on screen, mere pixels of heat, but distinct, upright, bipedal, shambling, jerky gait. "Are those people?" Corporal Miller asked from the back. He sounded like he was about to be sick. "No," I said, voice flat. "That's not people. Look at the heat signature. Humans on thermal imaging glow at the core, chest and head, and fade at extremities. These shapes were the opposite. Cold at the core, barely registering against background heat, but hands and faces glowed with intense, concentrated energy. They aren't generating heat, Aris realized. They're absorbing it. They are heat sinks. If one of those things touched you, it would freeze the blood in your veins, I finished. Pull it up, now. Wait, Aris said. Look at the center. In the middle of the thermal image, directly below the borehole, the root mass formed a mound, a raised dice of biological matter. And sitting in the center, something that looked disturbingly like machinery. Angular, metallic, cold. Is that? Hayes squinted. That looks like the nose cone of a rocket. It's a probe, Aris said. From the 1947 expedition. High jump. They said they lost planes in storms. They didn't lose them. They crashed through thin ice. It's collecting them. Pull it up, I shouted, slamming my hand on the console. Aris hit the retract switch. Winch groaned, straining against 2 miles of cable. On screen, the image jerked. Camera began ascending. But as it rose, the shapes on the floor stopped moving. They all turned, in perfect unison, to look up at the retreating lens. And then the screen went black. Not static, black. We lost signal, Aris said. Cable is severed. Retract the cable, I said. Let's see what cut it. 20 minutes to winch it back up. When the end finally cleared the valve, no camera. The steel-armored cable hadn't been cut, hadn't been snapped. The end was fused. Steel wires melted together into a smooth, rounded stump, like dipped in acid or subjected to incredible focused heat. Whatever is down there, I said, looking at the ruin, it doesn't want us looking. The mood shifted from fear to paranoia. Men slept in cold weather gear, boots laced, knives on chests. The echo grew louder. Not just repeating words anymore, constructing sentences. Nonsense sentences, jumbles of military jargon and names, broadcast over the PA system at random intervals. Miller, check the perimeter. Frost, bite. Sierra, Sierra. Driving them mad. On the 5th day, the inevitable happened. A blizzard warning came over long-range comms, the only channel seemingly immune to interference. Probably because the frequency was too high for the thing below to mimic yet. The storm was massive, a white wall of death moving from the coast. I ordered full lockdown. Secure every loose item. Tie down every vehicle. Corporal Miller was assigned final perimeter sweep. Routine task, take Snowcat 2, which we'd managed to jump-start with a portable generator, and drive the circle of flag markers to ensure sensors were clear of drift snow. 20-minute job. I watched from the observation blister of the command hut. Saw the headlights cutting through gathering gloom, twin yellow beams in a world of blue and gray. Radio crackled. Command, this is Cat 2. Perimeter is clear. South markers are buried, but I can see the flags. Turning back now. Copy that too, I said. Bring it in. The wind is picking up. Roger. I'm just gonna check the... Wait. Radio went silent. Cat 2, say again. I pressed the mic key. Static. Then the sound of the engine revving, not steady acceleration, but frantic redlining scream of the diesel motor. Miller? Command. There's something in the wire. Visual contact, 300 yards out. It's standing by the markers. I grabbed binoculars. Scanned the dark horizon, where headlights pointed. Saw beams illuminating swirling snow, and at the edge of the light, a shadow. Tall. Too tall to be a man. Pale, blending into the ice. A jagged, shifting silhouette like a snowman built by a madman. Miller, do not engage, I ordered. Return to base immediately. That is a direct order. It's moving fast, Miller shouted, voice pitched high, cracking with terror. Jesus, it moves weird. It's sliding. Its transmission cut to squeal of feedback. Through binoculars, I saw the snowcat swerve violently left. Headlights swept across ice, illuminating vast emptiness. Then the vehicle stopped. Not slowed down, stopped dead, like hitting a concrete wall. Rear tracks lifted from momentum, slamming back down. Then the lights went out, not dimmed, gone. Miller, I shouted into the mic. Report. Silence. Then the rhythmic thrumming returned, louder than ever. Thump thump, thump thump. Search team, I yelled, dropping the headset. Gear up. Now. 10 minutes to mobilize. Me, Sergeant Hayes, and 2 privates, strapped into the last functional snowcat, roaring out of camp. Wind already screaming, visibility down to 50 feet, but we followed GPS tracker on Miller's vehicle. Found the snowcat 500 yards from perimeter wire. Not where tracks ended. 50 feet further, sitting in pristine ice. I jumped out, flashlight cutting through storm. Miller! Reached the driver's side door. Grabbed the handle. Wouldn't budge. Shined light on the seam. The metal was fused. Steel door melted and flowed into frame, welding it shut. Window glass gone, shattered inward. Hayes, get the pry bar, I shouted. We wrenched the door open, metal groaning and snapping. I leaned into the cab, weapon drawn. It was empty. No blood. No sign of struggle. Seat was cold, but the cab interior was devastated. Dashboard melted. Steering wheel warped, plastic dripping like wax. Looked like a blowtorch had been taken to the controls. Where is he? Hayes asked, scanning darkness with his rifle. There are no footprints. He was right. Snow around vehicle was smooth. Miller hadn't walked away. Lieutenant, 1 private called out. The radio. I leaned back into the cab. Vehicle radio was destroyed. Faceplate melted slag. But sound was coming from somewhere. From the camp. I looked back toward base. Floodlights of rig shack visible in distance. 2 faint stars in the storm. The sound drifted across ice, carried by wind. Breathing. Ragged. Wet. Terrified gasps. Huh. It's Miller, Hayes whispered. He's broadcasting. How? I said. His radio is dead. Not his radio, Hayes said, turning toward rig shack, toward the capped hole. He's not on the radio, Lieutenant. He's down there. I listened. The breathing hitched. Then a voice, unmistakably Miller's, but hollow, echoing from a well, boomed across the frozen plain. It's warm. Voice cracked. It's so warm. Then came a sound I'll never forget. Wet tearing. Soft meat being pulled apart. Followed by a scream cut short, not by silence, but by overwhelming roar of static. And under the static, The heartbeat accelerated. Thump, 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 thump. It was excited. Back to base, I roared, shoving men toward vehicle. Move! Move! As we scrambled back into the snowcat, I looked back one last time at Miller's abandoned vehicle. In my flashlight beam, I saw something on the hood I'd missed before. Etched into the frost on the metal, drawn by a finger burning hot enough to melt ice deeply, was a symbol. Not a letter, not a number, a spiral. Perfect, tightening spiral mimicking the structures we'd seen on thermal camera. And it was glowing, faintly, pulsing with pale, sickly green light, fading as heat dissipated into cold. We drove back to camp in silence, Miller's final broadcast ringing in our ears. But crossing the perimeter wire, I realized the horror wasn't over. Camp was dark. Generator had failed. Only light came from rig shack. The welding torch was lit. Someone was inside. Who was in the rig? I keyed the mic, but radio was dead. Saw a silhouette moving against canvas wall. Large, bulky, holding the torch, cutting. They're opening the hole, I realized, blood draining from my face. Someone is cutting the cap. I slammed the throttle forward. Snowcat roaring across ice toward the one place on Earth we should have been running from. Because if that cap came off now, with the storm moving in and power dead, nothing would stop the heat rising. Nothing would stop the cold things climbing out. The snowcat roared across ice, tracks chewing through drifts with violence matching the panic in my throat. In the headlights, rig shack loomed from darkness, a canvas blister against the storm. Inside, blue-white flare of cutting torch strobed like disaster, casting erratic shadows against tent walls, pulsing in time with the rhythm vibrating through vehicle chassis. I didn't wait for full stop. Kicked door open while sliding, treads locking on ice, spilling out into wind. Cold hit like physical blow, stripping heat from my face in seconds, but adrenaline pumping too hard to feel it. Scrambled up metal grate of rig platform, boots slipping on rime ice, service pistol drawn but held low. "Hayes!" I screamed over wind. "Step away from the wellhead." Figure inside didn't flinch. Through frosted plastic window, saw silhouette of sergeant bent over steel cap we'd welded shut days ago. Hiss of oxyacetylene torch, audible over gale, sharp, angry sound like pressurized snake. He was cutting welds, opening the door. I hit latch and shoulder-checked door. Swung inward, stumbled into shack. Atmosphere hit instantly, not freezing cold of storm, but blast of humid warmth smelling of copper and wet rotting vegetation. Seal already breached, gas from below leaking out, filling small space with cloying greenhouse stench. Hayes was on his knees, torch in one hand, pry bar in other. Cut a 3-foot arc through steel plate, metal glowing cherry red, dripping slag onto ice. He'd stripped off parka and thermal layers. Working in undershirt, skin glistening with sweat, exposed to air still near 0 degrees near floor. "Sergeant," I shouted, leveling pistol at ceiling. "Drop the torch." Hayes turned slowly. Look in his eyes stopped me cold. Not rage, not manic energy of snapped man. Serene, vacant calm. Pupils dilated so wide his eyes looked entirely black, swallowing torchlight. Like a man who'd seen God's face and found it comforting. "It's suffocating, Lieutenant," he said, voice calm, conversational, even as torch flame hissed inches from his leg. "We sealed it up. Cut off the air. It needs to breathe. Put it down, Hayes. That's an order. You don't understand," he whispered, turning back to glowing metal. It's so cold up here. They're so cold. I just want to let the warmth in. He moved to jam pry bar into cut he'd made. I didn't think, reacted. Holstered pistol and lunged. Hit him waist level, driving shoulder into ribs, tackling him from wellhead. We hit metal grating hard. Hayes was big, forearms like tree trunks, but solid as rock. But his skin, when my bare hand brushed his arm, I recoiled. He wasn't warm. Despite sweat and lack of clothing, his skin was freezing, like touching beef from a meat locker. He didn't fight with strikes or punches. Just tried pushing past me, single-minded, unstoppable gravity like machine programmed for one task. I grappled, shouting for privates scrambling in behind me. "Grab his legs! Get the torch!" 3 of us to pin him down. Private Lewis kicked torch away, flame sputtering out on wet grating, plunging us into dim amber glow of emergency lights. Hayes stopped struggling when immobilized, went limp, staring at canvas ceiling, small beatific smile on lips. "Do you hear it?" he whispered. "It's singing." We dragged him out, wrestling dead weight into Snowcat back. I stayed behind, staring at damage. Cap compromised. Thin plume of white vapor hissing from cut, spiraling up into rafters. Grabbed welding blanket from workbench, threw over wellhead, weighted with sandbags. Wouldn't hold forever, but stop immediate venting. As I worked, heard the sound again. Thrumming from pipe louder now, agitated. And mixed with it, vibrating through boot soles, a wet chittering sound, like 1,000 insects moving inside a wall. Ran back to vehicle. "Go," I told driver. "Get him to infirmary. Wake up Eris." Drive back silent. Save Hayes humming discordant tune matching heartbeat under ice. Getting Hayes into infirmary was nightmare. Had to strap him to cot every time we let go. He tried standing, walking toward rig. Not toward exit, toward the hole. He had an internal compass now, needle pointing straight down. Our medic, Corporal Vance, kid from Ohio who'd treated frostbite and broken bones, looked lost cutting away Hayes' undershirt. "Lieutenant, look at this," Vance said, voice trembling. Stepped closer. In harsh exam lamplight, Hayes' skin looked wrong. Gray, color of wet slate or dead ash. Texture like parchment, dry and brittle, but not frostbite. No blackening, no tissue necrosis, like pigment drained out of him. "Vitals?" I asked. "That's the thing, sir," Vance said, tapping thermometer. "Core temp is 82 degrees. He should be comatose. Should be in cardiac arrest, but heart rate steady at 45. Hayes turned head to look at me. Movement jerky, like stop-motion puppet. "The network is efficient," he said. "It doesn't waste heat. It shares it." "What network, Hayes?" I asked, leaning over him. "What is down there?" "The hive," he said. "The old growth. It's been waiting so long, Elias. It remembers when this land was green. It remembers the forests. It remembers the sun. The sun hasn't shone here in months," I said. "It makes its own sun," Hayes whispered. "Down deep, where the roots are. You saw it, didn't you, on the camera? You saw the garden. Thought of writhing, thermal bright floor of cavern. That wasn't a garden, Sergeant. That was a horror show." Hayes laughed, dry, rattling sound. "Beauty is heat, Lieutenant. Ugly is cold. And you are so cold." Turned away, sick to stomach. "Sedate him," I ordered Vance. "Knock him out. I don't want him waking up and opening any doors." Vance pushed morphine into Hayes' arm. Big man didn't flinch. Eyes drifted shut, but smile remained. Even unconscious, his body hummed with that subsonic frequency. Left infirmary, found Dr. Eris in command hut. Not looking at magnetic charts anymore, hunched over microscope, staring at slide. On table next to him, sample jar with black sludge we'd scraped off drill bit weeks ago. The slate that turned out cellular. "How is he?" Eris asked without looking up. "He's 80 degrees and talking about the hive," I said, pouring stale lukewarm coffee. "Tried to open the hole, Doc. Said they need to breathe." Eris adjusted focus knob. "He's right. In a way." "Excuse me?" "Look at this," Eris said. Stepping back, gesturing to eyepiece. Leaned in. View magnified 400 times. Expected crystalline structures, mineral fragments. Instead saw movement. Black sample wasn't dead matter. Dense, interlocking mesh of black cells, shaped like hexagonal tiles. Pulsing. Expanding and contracting, flowing over each other. "I put heated needle next to slide," Eris said. "Watch." He moved small heat source near stage. Instantly cells reacted. Didn't just move, swarmed. Surged toward heat, stretching tendrils, latching to form bridge. Aggressive. Hungry. "It's thermotropic," Eris explained, voice flat and clinical. "Defense against terror. It seeks heat, aggressively. Absorbs thermal energy and converts it into growth, into motion." "Like plant seeking light?" I asked. "No," Eris said. "Plants are passive. This is predatory. Lieutenant, I've been looking at seismic data again. Shape of cavern. Way ice melts and refreezes above it. Walked to wall map of Antarctic continent. Traced circle around our position with grease pencil. We thought void was geological anomaly," he said. "Pocket of gas. But look at magnetic field lines. They aren't random. They form a lattice. A cage." Turned to me. Face pale. "The ice shelf isn't just weather, Elias. It's a shell. An exoskeleton. This thing, this superorganism, it maintains the ice. Keeps the lid on to trap geothermal heat from Earth's crust. Creates pressurized, heated biosphere for itself. And we drilled a hole in the roof," I said. "We cracked the egg," Eris corrected. "And now it knows there is a heat source up here. Us, the generators, the fuel reserves. So it's coming up to feed?" "It's already feeding," Eris said. "Hayes isn't sick, Lieutenant. He's being converted. Those cells, I found them in his blood sample. They are replacing his own cells, turning him into a node. A repeater." Thought of radio mimicry. How Hayes knew what Echo was saying before anyone else. "The radio," I said. "The voices. Is that how it communicates?" Eris let out shaky breath. "That's the part that scares me most. I analyzed wave patterns of mimicry. The echo. It's not communication, Elias. It's not trying to talk to us. Then what is it doing?" "Ever seen an anglerfish?" Eris asked. "Deep sea predator. Dangles glowing light and dark. Fish see light, think it's food or safety. Swim toward it. And snap." Pointed at radio on desk. The radio signals. Voices of our men. Miller calling for help. Coordinates it broadcasts. It's a lure. Mimics prey to draw prey closer. It wants us to open the door. Wants us to come down into the warmth. Felt chill that had nothing to do with temperature. "Midpoint twist," I muttered. Nonsensical thought from life I barely remembered. It's an ambush. Lieutenant. Shout from doorway. Private Lewis. Winded. Eyes wide. Sir, you need to see this. In barracks. The door. What about the door? Won't close, sir. Frame is bent. Followed Lewis into storm. Wind picked up. Screaming across plateau at 60 knots. Fought along guide ropes to barracks hut. Saw what he meant. Heavy steel door jammed open 3 inches. Frame torqued, twisted out of square. Put shoulder into it. Wouldn't budge. Structure itself shifted. Pulled out flashlight. Shone along floor. Prefab panels buckled. Pencil rolled off table. Accelerated toward north wall. Building is tilting, I said. Ran outside. Dropped to knees. Dug at snow around pylons supporting hut. Pylons anchored 6 feet deep into ice. Or they had been. Now, ice around pylon was slush. Pool of dark, viscous water forming around metal support. Pulled off glove, touched water. Wasn't freezing. Lukewarm. The foundation, I whispered. Stood up, looked around camp. Generator shed leaning visibly left. Supply depot had crack running down roof center. Eris, I shouted into wind. Doctor stumbled from command hut. Bring the laser level. Set up survey equipment center compound. 2 minutes to confirm gut scream. Entire plateau sinking. The heat is rising, Eris said, staring at readout. Breach in cap? Even with sandbags, it's venting enough heat to destabilize surface ice. We are sitting on melting crust, Elias. If structural integrity fails, we fall in, I said. 2 miles down. We have to move camp, Lewis said. Evacuate. To where? I asked. Snowcat's dead. Radio jammed. Plane can't land in this storm. We're stuck. We can move generator, Eris said. If we move it further from borehole to solid ice. Generator weighs 2 tons, I snapped. Without snowcats, it's not going anywhere. Then lights went out. Not flicker this time, hard cut. Floodlights on perimeter died. Warm glow of hut windows vanished. Camp plunged into absolute, suffocating darkness, broken only by faint, sickly starlight through storm clouds. Roar of main diesel generator, sound that had been heartbeat of survival for months, sputtered and died. Silence rushed in. But not empty. Thump thump, thump thump. Heartbeat from below louder now. Triumphant. Get emergency lamps, I shouted, fumbling for flashlight. Defensive positions. Lewis, barracks, wake everyone. Eris, stay with me. Clicked light on. Beam cut narrow cone through driving snow. Swept across compound. Movement, Lewis yelled. Perimeter wire, north side. Swung light north. Perimeter fence just poles strung with razor wire. Meant to keep people from wandering off, not keep things out. At edge of light saw them. Shapes from thermal camera. Slush men, but seeing with naked eye infinitely worse. Vaguely humanoid, 6 feet tall. But proportions all wrong. Arms too long, hanging past knees. No skin. Composed of translucent, milky white substance like packed snow mixed with jelly. Shifting, flowing as they moved. 3 standing at wire, not attacking fence, pressing against it. Watched in horror as one reached out long, shapeless limb, grabbed steel post. Sharp crack, like gunshot. Metal post shattered. It froze it, Eris whispered. Sucked heat out of steel until brittle as glass. Creature stepped through gap, moved with sliding, liquid grace, ignoring wind knocking us off balance. Turned head, featureless, smooth dome of white matter, toward us. Then a face formed. Didn't grow features. Mimicked them. Slush on front of head shifted, indented, molded itself into crude, colorless copy of human face. Miller's face. Mouth opened. Black hole in white slush. From 50 yards of storm-swept ice, voice projected loud and clear over wind. Protocol. 0. Raised pistol. Open fire. Squeezed trigger. Gun bucked. Saw rounds hit creature. Puffs of white mist erupted from chest. But didn't fall. Didn't bleed. Holes simply closed up, slush flowing back together like water. Bullets won't work, Eris shouted. Not solid. It's colony of cells. Fire, I yelled again, backing toward command hut. Keep firing. Other men pouring from barracks now, rifles cracking in dark. Tracers zipped through snow, tearing into advancing shapes. More coming through wire now. 5. 10. Swarming. But not rushing us. Moving toward heat sources. One slid past firing line, ignoring men. Lunged for generator shed. Latched onto warm metal casing of dead diesel engine. Saw frost spread instantly across iron, flash freeze turning engine block white in seconds. Creature pulsed, glowing faintly with absorbed energy. They're eating the heat, I realized. Draining the camp. Lieutenant, Lewis screamed from barracks. They're inside. Coming up through the floor. Spun around. Barracks door jammed one, now hanging off hinges. Threat not coming through door. Floor of barracks dissolving. Slush and water around sinking pylons bubbling up between floorboards. Rising from black sludge. Hands. White. Grasping hands. Retract, I ordered. Fall back to command hut. Everyone move. Now. Route. Scrambled across ice, slipping, falling, firing blindly into shapes closing from all sides. Cold biting deep now, stinging exposed skin. With generator gone and creatures sucking ambient heat, temperature plummeting. Piled into command hut, slammed heavy door, through deadbolt. Flimsy protection. If those things could freeze steel, wooden door nothing. Barricade it, I shouted. Desks, cabinets, everything. Shoved heavy metal desk against door. Men panting, terrified, breath pluming in freezing air. 8 of us left, 4 missing. Where is Vance? I asked, scanning room. Where's the medic? He didn't make it out of barracks. Lewis stammered. The floor, it just grabbed him. He sank, Lieutenant. Went right through floorboards like quicksand. Heavy thud shook door. Then another. Wood groaned. They're here, Eris said, backing into corner. Hammering stopped. Wind outside seemed to die down. Silence returned, heavy, expectant. Then radio on desk, connected to high-frequency array, lit up. Shouldn't have worked. Power out, but dials glowing sickly green phosphorescence. Speaker crackled. Thump thump, thump thump. Then voice. Not synthesized robotic mimicry we'd heard before. Clear, emotional, terrifyingly human. Elias. Vance's voice. Elias, please, open the door. It's so cold out here. We just want to come in. Stared at radio. Don't listen to it, I told men. That is not Vance. But it hurts, Lieutenant. Voice sobbed. My skin. It's cracking. Please, just let us in. We have warmth. We can share it. Turn it off, Lewis yelled, reaching for console. Don't touch it. Eris warned. It's a conduit. Before Lewis could pull hand back, spark of electricity arced from radio casing. Not blue static. Green. Jumped to Lewis's finger. Lewis screamed. Fell back, clutching hand, index finger black, necrotic, dead. It bit me, Lewis shrieked. We are trapped, I said, looking at men. No power, no heat, no vehicles. Outside, army of unkillable things waiting for us to freeze so they could harvest last sparks of warmth from bodies. Looked at Eris. The coordinates, I said. You said it was broadcasting coordinates? Eris nodded, shivering violently. Yes. Why? Where do they point? I didn't check, Eris admitted. Assumed random. Check them, I ordered. If we're dying here, I want to know where this thing is trying to send us. Eris pulled map from pocket, spread on floor, illuminated with flashlight, took pencil, plotted latitude and longitude echo had been repeating. Stopped. Looked up at me, face mask of confusion and horror. It's not location on map, Eris whispered. What is it? It's a vector, Eris said. Intercept course. These coordinates, not for place on Earth. Tapped map. They're targeting data, for satellites, for ICBMs. Realization hit like hammer. Anomaly wasn't just biological horror, it was interfacing with technology. Learned from probes, radios, now trying to call down fire. It wants to break shell, I whispered. Trying to get us to nuke the ice. Massive crack echoed from beneath hut. Floor tilted violently right. Desk slid from door. Foundation is gone, Eris yelled. Hut groaned, metal rivets popping like gunfire. Sliding. Entire command structure sliding down slope of melting depression, straight toward borehole. Brace, I screamed. Hut lurched, tipped, stopped with bone-jarring crash. Door burst open. Through gap, saw rig shack. Only 50 feet away now. Blanket I'd put over hole gone. Cap gone. Pillar of steam rising into night sky, illuminated by green bioluminescence of slush men gathering around it. Standing in circle, swaying, arms raised toward vapor. And rising from hole, pulling itself up gripping edge of casing with hands too large and too human. Sergeant Hayes stood up, naked, skin pure white. From his back, sprouting from spine like wings, translucent pulsing tendrils of fungus connecting him to darkness below. Looked at us. Smiled. Pointed at me. Protocol 0. Hayes said. Voice not from mouth. From speakers. From radio. From vibrating floorboards. Initiate. That was when situation stopped being survival scenario, became strategic nightmare. Sergeant Hayes, or thing wearing his face, wasn't taunting us. Issuing command. Protocol 0 wasn't phrase Hayes would have known. Classified. Top secret clearance only. Buried and sealed orders locked in command safe. Orders only opened in catastrophic containment breach or imminent Soviet seizure. Fact entity new code meant it hadn't just absorbed Hayes's body heat. Absorbed his memories. Worse, accessed classified data Hayes, as senior NCO, might have overheard. Knew our fail-safes. Knew our desperation. He's not Hayes, I said, voice barely audible over wind. Don't look at him. Look at perimeter. We need to move. Move where? Lewis shouted, cradling blackened finger. Hut is gone. Snowcat's dead. We're trapped. We're not trapped, I lied. Regrouping. Get flares. Get satchel charges. Falling back to fuel depot. Fuel depot only structure left uncompromised by sinking foundation. Cluster of rubber bladders and steel drums on slightly higher ice ridge, 50 yards from main camp. Represented only thing left, chemical energy. Scrambled out back of shattered command hut, moving low, using wreckage as cover. Wind physical force now, wall of ice crystals scouring exposed skin raw, but cold least of worries, slush men everywhere, not rushing us, hurting us. Standing loose circles, bodies glowing stolen warmth, blocking paths to open ice, wanted us penned in, close to hull. Reached fuel depot, sliding into narrow gaps between frozen diesel drums. Did head count. 7 men. Plus, Eris. Started with 12. What is Protocol 0? Eris asked, huddled next to me. Shivering so violently teeth chattered staccato rhythm hard to understand. Scorched earth, I said, checking pistol magazine. 3 rounds left. Total denial of sight. Blow fuel reserves. Blow seismic charges. Collapse shelf. Eris stared. Collapse shelf? Elias, we're standing on shelf. If you blow it, we drop 2 miles into void. Better than freezing to death, I said. Or becoming that. Pointed toward rig shack. Through gaps in drums, saw haze. Still standing by hole. Arms raised. Conducting symphony of vapor and green light. Slush men moving slow hypnotic circle around him. Worshippers at pagan altar. Sound. Heartbeat deafening now. Ground vibrating so hard fuel drums rattling. Thump thump. Thump thump. Not just sound anymore. Geological event. Ice cracking. Fissures opening around camp. Spider webbing from borehole. We can't just blow it, Eris said, grabbing my arm. If we detonate charges on surface, blast goes up. Won't seal hole. Just widen it. So what do we do? We have to drop charges, Eris said. Downhole. Deep. If we trigger collapse at neck of cavern, weight of ice above crushes void. Seals breach from inside. You want us to walk past those things? I said, gesturing to army of frozen monsters, carrying 50 pounds high explosives, drop them down well Hayes is guarding? It's only way, Aris said. And we have to do it before it launches. Launches what? The signal, Eris said. Coordinates. It's building up charge, Elias. Look at vapor. Looked. Steam rising from hole not white anymore. Charged with static electricity. Green lightning arcing through cloud, snapping, popping. Air tasted ozone and copper. Ionization channel. Massive biological antenna. It's going to broadcast, Eris said. Scream those coordinates to every satellite and listening post hemisphere. If Soviets pick it up, think we're targeting them. If US picks it up, think site overrun. Either way, missiles fly. Looked at men, broken, frozen, terrified, exhausted. Not soldiers anymore, prey, but still breathing. Listen to me, I shouted over wind roar. 1 play left. Take seismic charges from storage locker. Load on last sled. Push sled into hole. That's suicide, Lewis whispered. Staying. Here suicide, I said. Doing nothing suicide. This way, take target out. Stop signal. Looked at Sergeant Miller. No, not Miller. Thing wearing Miller's face out there in storm. Looked at Corporal Vance's empty sleeping bag. Looked at ruin of command. Move in 2 teams, I said. Team 1 provides suppressive fire. Won't kill them, but kinetic impact slows them down. Disrupts cohesion. Team 2 pushes sled. Moved. Hardest thing I've ever done. Leaving shelter of fuel drums, stepping onto open ice felt like walking into meat grinder. Moment we broke cover, slush men turned. Didn't roar, didn't scream, just slid toward us, silent white tide. "Fire!" I yelled. 4 rifles opened up. Sound flat, dead in heavy air. Bullets tore into slush men, blowing chunks of white matter from bodies. Stumbled, forms losing definition. But kept coming. Grabbed sled handle. Heavy steel pallet loaded with crates of dynamite and blasting caps, meant for seismic sounding. Push. Eris and 2 privates threw weight against it. Sled groaned, runners cutting into ice. Sprinting, heads down, driving toward rig shack. 50 yards. Slush man lunged from darkness. Private Hansen, right flank, didn't see it time. Creature grabbed him. Heard snap freeze. Sound water turning ice instantly. Hansen didn't scream, just stiffened. Face freezing shock mask, then shattered. Fell forward, body breaking dozen pieces on hard ice. "Don't stop!" I screamed. "Keep pushing!" 40 yards. Heat from hole intense now. Not just warm, hot. Ice under boots slick with meltwater. Fog thick, swirling green light. Hayes saw us coming. Stopped conducting. Lowered arms. Looked at me with black dead eyes. "You are too late, Elias." Voice boomed from speakers. "Shell is broken." Stepped forward. Didn't walk. Glided. Feet not moving. Carried by tendrils on back. Raised hand. Felt heat sucked from air. Breath caught throat. Cold agonizing. Like blood turning slush. "Shoot him," I yelled. Men fired. Bullets hit Hayes, punching holes in chest. No blood. Just white light leaking from wounds. He laughed. "We are legion," he said. Then Snowcat roared from darkness. Wreck. 1 Miller died in. 1 with melted dashboard, fused door. Moving. Engine screaming, red lining, smoke pouring exhaust. No driver. Vehicle glowing. Green bioluminescence pulsing through metal, through tracks. Entity animated machine, slammed into flank of slush men, crushing 3 under treads. Not trying save us. Just chaos. Entity testing new toys. But gave opening. "Now!" I shouted. Hit gap. Shoved sled forward. Sprinting through hole in line. Hit ramp of rig platform. Sled clattered up metal grate. Haze stood between us and hole. Glowing brighter now. Beacon of cold fire. "You cannot close door," he said. No weapon could hurt him. Pistol empty. Rifles dry. But had fuel. Grabbed jerry can from sled back. Kerosene. Meant for heaters. Uncapped it. "Eris. Flare," I yelled. Threw can at Hayes. Hit chest, splashing fuel over white skin. He didn't flinch. Didn't seem understand what it was. To him, just liquid. Eris pulled pin on road flare. Threw it. Flare hit fuel-soaked grating. Whoosh of ignition deafening. Kerosene caught instantly, but didn't burn normal fire. Haze heat sink. Absorbing thermal energy so fast fire burned blue, then violet, then white. He screamed. Not pain scream. Overload scream. Drinking fire. Sucking it in. Body couldn't handle surge. White skin cracked. Tendrils on back whipped. Thrashing. "Push it in," I roared. Slammed into sled. Skidded across burning grate, smashing into Hayes' legs. He went down, howling, tangling in wreckage. Sled tipped over edge of casing. Second, nothing happened. Then heard it. Sound of heavy wooden crates tumbling down 2-mile throat. Clattering against walls. Falling into dark. Run! I grabbed Eris by collar, dragged him backward. Get off rig. Scrambled down ramp, hitting ice, rolling. Slush men retreating, pulling back from heat-burning platform. Ran. Didn't look back. Ran for only cover left, shallow depression behind fuel depot. How long? I gasped. Gravity drop. Eris panted. 2 miles. Terminal velocity. 30 seconds. Hit snow. Covered heads. Explosion wasn't noise. Punch. Ground bucked upward, throwing us air. Ice cracked 1,000 rifle shots. Then roar. Deep, guttural sound. Muffled million tons ice. Shockwave rippled through glacier, knocking slush men off feet, shattering remaining camp structures. Looked up time to see rig shack vanish. Ground around borehole collapsed. Sinkhole opened, 100 feet wide, swallowing burning platform. Snowcat. Sergeant Hayes. Ice fell inward. Cascade white blocks, tumbling abyss. Then silence. Green light faded. Heartbeat stopped. Wind howled, reclaiming plateau. Lay there snow, gasping air, waiting secondary collapse, waiting whole shelf give way. But held. Plug worked. Explosion collapsed neck of cavern, sealed throat shattered ice and rock. Slush men gone. Without connection hive, without broadcast signal guide them. Simply melted. Just puddles gray water freezing ice. Is it over? Lewis whispered. Stood up. Shaky, looking crater where rig used be. No, I said. Just bought time. Because watching, steam started rise again. Just wisp. Thin white thread vapor curling up from center crater. And silence. Faint but undeniable heard it. Thump. Thump. Slower. Weaker. But there. We need extraction, I said. Now. Found emergency beacon wreckage command hut. Battered, but battery internal. Shielded. Extended antenna keyed distress code. Outpost Sierra to command. Mayday. Mayday. Catastrophic failure. Protocol 0 initiated. Request immediate extraction. Waited. Hour huddled Lee fuel drums. Watching crater. Watching steam. Then heard it. Drone engines. Not Thrum anomaly. Steady mechanical roar Pratt & Whitney radials. C-130 Hercules, ski landing gear. Broke cloud layer. Circled once, dropping flares. Came landing flattest ice remaining. Ran for plane. Didn't carry gear. Didn't carry samples. Just carried ourselves. Ramp lowered. Team men hazmat suits rushed out. Didn't help us. Pointed rifles. On ground, one shouted. Decontamination protocol. Sprayed foam. Stripped outer gear. Scanned Geiger counters. Thermal cameras. Clean, lead officer said. Get them on board. Last one up ramp. Before stepped cargo hold looked back. Crater glowing. Soft green light pulsing depths sinkhole. Standing edge crater, watching us leave. Figure. Haze. Or what left him. Burned. Broken. Half-embedded ice. But standing. Raised one hand wave. Ramp closed. Shutting white hell Antarctica. Heard his voice last time. Whispering headset loadmaster standing next me. See you soon. Flew north. Left ice behind. But didn't leave horror. Debriefing short. Didn't ask what saw. Asked what recorded. confiscated Eris's journals, tapes, samples, then separated us. Never saw Lewis again, or Eris. Heard rumors Eris died car accident month later. Lewis transferred psychiatric facility Nevada, reassigned desk job Pentagon, logistics, supply chain management, far field, far ice. But know what happened next. Year later, Antarctic Treaty signed. 12 nations agreed ban military activity continent. Agreed halt territorial claims. Agreed preserve continent peace science. Lie. Didn't sign treaty stop wars. Signed stop digging. Signed keep anyone else punching whole roof world. Because they know what's down there. No ice isn't just landscape, it's cage. And no cage cracking. Old man now. Live Arizona. Haven't seen snow 40 years. Keep house 80 degrees. Day-night. But sometimes, house quiet, traffic dies outside. Still hear it. Coming up through floorboards. Coming up through foundation. Thump thump. Thump thump. Getting louder. Last night turned radio. Old AM transistor garage. Scanning channels. Looking ball game. Found dead station. Just static. But static. Voice. Elias. Wasn't whispering anymore. Laughing. The ice melting Elias. Turned radio off. But no truth. Military didn't stop exploring Antarctica because nothing there. Stopped because found everything. Terrified waking up. Because if ice melts, if lid comes off, won't be fighting war, fighting extinction. Protocol Zero won't be enough, stop it. Flight North blur noise vibration. 4 turboprops C-130 grinding away silence left behind ice. Sat cargo hold. Strapped web seats. Shivering not cold. Plane heaters blasting, but deep cellular shock. None spoke. Just stared floor. Hands. Empty seats Miller. Vance. Hansen. Hayes should have been. Every turbulence. Every airframe groan. 7 heads snapped up. Eyes wide. Waiting floor melt. Waiting white hands come through deck plates. Floor held. Engines didn't freeze. Leaving anomaly behind. Putting miles altitude between us thing lived shelf. Or thought. Landed not McMurdo coastal stations. Touchdown classified airstrip Falkland Islands. Windswept rock South Atlantic almost tropical compared where'd been. Moment ramp dropped. Illusion rescue evaporated. Not greeted medics debriefing officer pot coffee. Met containment team. Men full CBRN suits, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, swarmed plane props stopped spinning. Moved terrifying efficiency, stripping everything. Clothes, boots, dog tags, watches wrists. Anything exposed air outpost Sierra, bagged, tagged, incinerated portable furnace tarmac. Scrubbed chemicals burned skin. Scanned devices never seen. Separated us. Put isolation windowless room smelled bleach ozone. 3 days saw no one hazmat team brought food. Took blood samples 4 hours. Didn't speak. Didn't answer questions. Just looked thick plastic faceplates eyes cold clinical. 4th day. Man gray suit came in. Didn't introduce himself. Didn't offer rank. Sat across. Placed thick file metal table. Opened it. Photographs inside. Grainy high-altitude reconnaissance photos ice shelf. Lieutenant Elias, he said. Voice flat. Devoid accent emotion. Problem report. Haven't made report, I said. Voice raspy disuse. Have tapes, he said. Have Dr. Eris's journals. have telemetry probe, know what happened outpost. Then know why blue rig, I said. No signal. Looked long moment, slid photo table. Showed massive circular depression ice, filled shattered blocks glacier. Crater where rig used be. Stopped transmission, he said. Now, but didn't kill it. Just annoyed it. Annoyed it. I laughed harsh, jagged sound. Dropped ton-high explosives down throat. Collapsed mountain ice top it. If didn't kill it, what will? Nothing, he said simply. Run simulations. Nuclear weapons won't destroy biomass. Heat just feed it. Absorb energy. Metabolize radiation. Grow exponentially. Nuclear site wouldn't sterilizing it. Giving breakfast. Leaned forward. That why here, Lieutenant. One few people seen survived. No behavior. No patterns. Need help draft containment protocols. Containment? I shook head. Can't contain it. Waking up. No, we're here. No use technology. Can't contain it, he said. Not walls, not guns. Contain silence. Beginning lie. Lie became Antarctic Treaty. Lie convinced world most dangerous place Earth sanctuary penguins peace. Spent next 6 months secure facility Nevada, working team theoretical biologists military strategists. Went every second tapes, every frame thermal footage, mapped extent hive-based magnetic anomalies. Wasn't just under outpost Sierra, root systems stretched hundreds miles, vast subterranean network, hugging geothermal hotspots tectonic plate. Cancer dormant millions years, trapped pressure ice, starving dark, until drilled hole let heat in. Dr. Eris write everything. Entity thermotropic. Sought heat drowning man seeks air, but also intelligent. Not way understand intelligence, didn't have brain central nervous system, but collective consciousness. Learned. Adapted. Mimicked. Patient. Echo wasn't just lure. Probing attack. Testing frequencies. Learning language. Figuring machines worked. Coordinates broadcast weren't random. Targeting data Soviet missile grid. Listened radio chatter. Understood mutually assured destruction. Tried trick us cracking shell it. Wanted nuclear winter. Not liked cold. But initial firestorms give enough energy consume entire southern hemisphere. Job help them write rules keep asleep. Protocol Zero wasn't just blowing rig. Foundation new doctrine. No permanent military bases inland. No nuclear power plants continent. No drilling below certain depth. All waste heat shielded dissipated. Complete radio silence certain frequencies. Called Antarctic Treaty System. Public. Noble agreement demilitarize continent. Us, desperate attempt starve beast. Stopped feeding heat. Stopped poking radar radio waves. Maybe go back hibernation. Maybe ice thicken seal cracks. But new truth. New saw Hayes's eyes before died. We are legion. Wasn't just threat. Promise. Released eventually. Medical discharge. Full pension. Non-disclosure agreement thick could stop bullet. Told if ever spoke word anyone. Press, family, veterans. Would disappeared fast shadow wouldn't time catch up. Told Lewis mental institution. Catatonic. Told Eris dead. Told other survivors reassigned remote posts couldn't talk. Moved Arizona. Bought small house middle desert. Far away ice could get. Surrounded heat. Let sun bake skin leathery brown. Never turned air conditioning, even hit 110. Wanted feel heat. Wanted know alive. Blood warm flowing. But can't run something part planet. Years lived fear mailman. Phone ringing. Black car parking street. Nothing happened. Treaty held. Cold War ended. World moved on. People forgot outpost ice. Forgot research doing. Antarctica became tourist destination. Rich people wanted see glaciers before melted. That problem, ice melting, started hearing again 5 years ago. First thought PTSD, phantom echoes trauma brain couldn't process. Sitting porch, watching sunset, feel it. Vibration concrete slab house, rhythmic subsonic pulse. Thump thump. Thump thump. Faint, barely edge perception. But there, getting stronger. Bought shortwave radio. Started scanning bands, listening static stations. Late night, ionosphere clear signals bounce halfway world. Hear things shouldn't there. Ghost stations. Numbers stations. Echo. Found frequency supposed used. Weak, buried cosmic noise, pattern unmistakable. Wasn't mimicking military chatter anymore. Wasn't repeating names. Broadcasting data, temperature readings, ice thickness reports, melt rates, monitoring cage, started research, library, internet terminals, looked climate data Antarctica, scientists panicking. Ice shelves collapsing faster models predicted. Massive cracks appearing Pine Island Glacier, Thwaites Glacier. Called doomsday glaciers. Said global warming. Said warm ocean currents eating ice below. Half right. Warm currents. Heat not coming ocean. Coming earth. HIV waking up. Treaty starved surface heat. Adapted. Started tapping geothermal vents deeper down. Grew. Expanded. Now melting roof head. 2 weeks ago, heard voice again. Garage, tinkering radio. Built directional antenna. Trying pinpoint source signal. Locked it. Strong clear carrier wave cutting static. Voice spoke. Wasn't Hayes. Wasn't Vance. Me. My voice recorded 40 years ago, God-forsaken ice plateau. Protocol, 0, initiated, pause, static hiss, new voice. Voice sounded wet slate grinding together. Protocol, 1, active, froze, hand hovered dial, protocol 1. Didn't know meant. Wasn't file. Wasn't containment strategy. Voice laughed. Same laugh heard haze burning. Door open Elias. Guests coming. Turned radio off. Smashed hammer until nothing plastic shards copper wire. But destroying receiver doesn't stop signal. Know what's happening. See news reports. Unprecedented warming Antarctica. Strange biological blooms Southern Ocean. Research stations going dark extreme weather. Not going dark weather. Going dark quarantine failed. Writing because don't much time left. Health failing. Doctors say heart. Say beating irregularly. Say strange rhythm. Skip pulse can't explain. Know what is. Heart sinking. Beating time thing south. Feel right now. Not just floorboards anymore. Chest, blood, thump thump, thump thump, calling back, think others, Lewis, Eris, Hayes. Never really left, did they? Part network now. Cold white nodes darkness, waiting rest us join them. Will join them. Can't stop melt, can't put heat back bottle. Built civilization burning things, oil, coal, atoms, wrapped planet blanket carbon turned thermostat. Did exactly hive wanted. Terraformed earth greenhouse. Made warm. Made comfortable. Yesterday saw news. Massive iceberg broken raw on ice shelf. Size Rhode Island. Aerial footage showed break, sheer white cliffs falling sea. Looked closely. Paused video zoomed dark water churning base cliff. Saw them. Pale white shapes. Thousands them. Bobbing water. Climbing ice. Not hiding anymore. Migrating. Sit hot desert house. Pistol table bottle whiskey hand wait. Wait knock door. Not government. Not men gray suits. Wait cold. Temperature room starts drop. Frost starts form inside windows though 90 degrees outside. No here. No slush men come collect last survivor outpost Sierra. Won't fight them time. Won't run. One bullet left magazine. Just one. Protocol Zero soul. Know what happens take you. No feels part hive. Saw Hayes's face. Not death. Something worse. Eternal freezing preservation. Being battery never runs dry. Listen me. Hear new expeditions south. See governments talking resource reclamation Antarctica. Hear sudden inexplicable drop global temperatures. Run. Run equator. Run hottest place find. Won't matter. End. Ice just shell. Earth egg. Thing inside ready hatch. Here now. Rhythm changing. Getting faster. Thump 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 thump. Excited. Voice. Voice head. Not coming radio. Coming own throat. See you soon.